It started on a rainy Tuesday. The storm hit the town of Ashbrook harder than expected. Thunder, flooded streets, and sewer drains bubbling with water. Alex, a 13-year-old boy with a habit of exploring places he shouldn't, decided to walk home alone after school, even though his mom had begged him to wait. He never made it home. The last thing anyone heard was from a kid who walked behind him a few blocks away. He was talking to someone, but there was no one there. By the time the police searched the area, the rain had stopped, but something else had started. At the edge of Monroe Avenue, right by an old rusted storm drain, they found Alex's backpack. Wet, torn, and covered in handprints. Tiny ones, child-sized. But Alex was an only child, and no other kids had been reported missing. That night, the whispers began. Neighbors reported hearing a boy's voice echoing up from the drain. "Hello? Can anyone hear me?" But when police investigated, nothing. Just darkness and water. They placed a grate over it, bolted it shut. 2 days later, it was open again. And a note was found stuck to the side in red marker. "You shouldn't cover the door." Weeks passed. People forgot. But one man didn't. Marcus Willis, a retired sewer engineer who once worked that street in the 80s, came forward with something disturbing. That drain leads to an old tunnel system no longer on the city's maps. We sealed it after a worker disappeared in '87. Nobody believed him, until the drain started talking back. A local teenager uploaded a TikTok. "I swear there's a voice coming from under Monroe Ave. I leaned in and it whispered my name." The video went viral, and people started coming, listening, recording. Some claimed they heard a boy crying, others, laughter. One night, a YouTuber live-streamed himself climbing down into the drain. He was never seen again. Only the phone was recovered. Inside the final minute of footage, a dark tunnel dripping sounds, and something crawling, fast, toward the camera. The last frame, a pale hand dragging the lens down. After the viral video vanished, panic spread across Ashbrook. The town sealed every storm drain along Monroe Avenue. Cameras were installed, patrols increased, but the voices didn't stop. Now they were heard blocks away, in garden hoses, through bathroom sinks, and even in the sound of flushing toilets. Always the same, faint child's whisper, "It's cold, down here." One woman, Jenna Crow, claimed she heard it at exactly 3:03 a.m. while brushing her teeth. When she leaned closer to the drain, a second voice joined. Not a boy, a woman, low, gravelly, hungry. "He's not alone. We never are down here." Jenna passed out. When she woke up, her bathroom mirror was cracked, and written in fog, "Listen closer." Meanwhile, Marcus Willis, the retired sewer engineer, found old city blueprints. The map showed the sealed tunnels beneath Monroe Avenue led to a forgotten chamber, once used as a filtration hub. But the chamber was never finished. Rumors back then spoke of accidents, vanishings, but it was all buried in silence. Until now. Marcus convinced 2 local investigators to go with him down a secondary access pipe, one not listed on public records. They wore body cams. 30 feet down, things felt wrong. The water wasn't just dripping. It echoed, like something was walking behind them. And on the walls were children's drawings, hundreds of them, crude sketches in red chalk showing people falling into drains, a dark figure with 2 long arms, and a boy with X's for eyes waving. They reached the sealed chamber. The walls were moist, pulsating almost like breathing skin. In the corner sat a child-sized shoe with fresh mud on it. Marcus turned to speak, but both investigators had disappeared. Their light still glowed, but they were gone. His radio cracked to life. "Marcus, help me. He's showing me the others. They don't have mouths anymore." The feed died. Marcus ran. But when he emerged above ground, he wasn't the same. Neighbors said he started muttering to himself, wouldn't sleep, wouldn't eat. He was found sitting by the Monroe storm drain days later, whispering, The drain's not the problem. It's the door below it. The town voted to pour cement into the entire tunnel system, block it forever. And they did. Sealed it shut. Problem solved? Not quite. Because the night after the final pour, the cement cracked open, and a child's voice rose again. You locked the wrong door. After the cement cracked, the town tried to ignore it. The mayor said it was a settling issue. The city sealed it again. But that night, every faucet in Ashbrook turned on by itself. At exactly 3:03 a.m., the water ran red. Marcus Willis, now borderline insane, was placed in psychiatric care. But before they took him, he left behind a notebook. Inside, hand-drawn maps, pages full of circles, and repeated phrases scribbled violently across several pages. The door is not locked. The door is awake. The local authorities hired a private contractor to inspect the system one last time. Enter Eli Brand, a specialist in subterranean acoustics. He brought in sonar equipment to map the sounds under Monroe Avenue. What they found? A massive hollow space beneath the sealed chamber. One that didn't appear on any blueprints. One that moved, as if breathing, as if listening. Eli dropped a mic line down the inspection shaft. For 6 minutes, there was silence, then a voice, small, familiar. You came back for me, and then another voice, deeper, older, hissing like air through teeth. He's mine now. The audio cut. The file corrupted. The next day, Eli was found unconscious at the storm drain. His eardrums ruptured. Before blacking out, he'd scratched a phrase into the asphalt using a screwdriver. He's wearing Alex's voice. Meanwhile, back in town, people started dreaming of the drain. Shared dreams. Witnesses described the same vision. A boy, soaked and pale, crawling up from the tunnels, smiling with sharp teeth. Behind him, a figure tall as the ceiling, with no face, dragging a net filled with children's shoes. One woman claimed she woke up with wet footprints leading from her bathroom to the foot of her bed. And her daughter's stuffed animal. It was soaked through, even though it hadn't left the room. Then came the echo game. Children at Ashbrook Elementary started playing it at recess, facing sewer grates and repeating 3 times. Who's there in the water below? One child always replied in a whisper voice. Someone who wants to come up. It seemed like a game, until one boy, Leo, vanished the next day. The last thing seen on school cameras? Him crouching beside the storm drain during lunch, talking, laughing, then gone. The town panicked. Sewer covers were welded shut. Water systems checked. But it was too late. The voice had already left the tunnels. And now, people were hearing it inside their homes. One woman described it perfectly. It doesn't echo from below anymore. It echoes from behind the mirror. After Leo's disappearance, Ashbrook became a ghost town. Playgrounds emptied. Families left. The town's water usage dropped by 70%, not from drought, but from fear. No one wanted to turn on the taps. No one wanted to hear the whispers that followed. Inside the hospital, Marcus Willis, now nearly catatonic, sat motionless, humming a tune no one could place. But one night during a nurse's rounds, he suddenly stood up, walked to the sink, turned it on, and said, "They're done waiting." He collapsed moments later. Heart failure. At his funeral, rain fell hard, unnaturally hard. The graveyard began to flood, and from one of the drains nearby, a child's giggle echoed out. Meanwhile, the local water treatment plant reported something impossible. An entire section of their underground filtration tank had caved in. The camera they sent down showed what looked like a hole in the concrete, perfectly round, as if something had chewed through it. Inside the opening, rows of teeth marks, and one wet child's shoe. In a desperate move, the city contacted a federal paranormal investigation unit. They brought ground-penetrating radar, audio isolation gear, and EM field sensors. What they discovered? An enormous cavity beneath Ashbrook, larger than anyone thought. Twisting tunnels, carved chambers, whispers at every turn. And in the very center, a door, circular, breathing, as if it were made of flesh. The lead investigator reported, "It's not a place, it's a mouth." 2 days later, his entire team vanished. The footage left behind shows only one thing: a boy standing in the darkness of the tunnel, smiling, and whispering in the exact same voice as Alex, the kid who vanished at the start. But when zoomed in, the face wasn't quite human anymore. Back in Ashbrook, strange things began to happen all at once. Faucets bled, toilets gurgled with laughter, mirrors fogged with handprints that didn't match any residents. And most terrifying? People began seeing him, the boy, standing at the edge of their beds, soaking wet, eyes like glass, grinning, whispering, "Can I stay here? I brought others." One family fled town in the middle of the night. They drove 200 miles, checked into a hotel. First thing the daughter did? She walked into the bathroom and found her brother's voice whispering from the sink. "Why did you leave me?" They didn't have a son. The final known act came when Monroe Avenue caved in completely. No warning, just a sinkhole that swallowed 3 houses. Emergency crews found no survivors. Only a note carved into the concrete slab that once held the street. "You covered your ears. We came anyway." Ashbrook was declared uninhabitable. Official reports blamed underground erosion, but those who lived there know the truth. The storm drain was never just a drain. It was a gateway, and now, it's open everywhere. So next time you hear a faint voice in your pipe, and don't answer, because it might be him, still wet, still waiting, still whispering your name.